The man who saw the genius of Kobe Bryant at an early age, Jerry West, the Hall of Famer, Golden State Warriors executive board member, and former Laker GM, kind enough to join us this morning. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
I'm fine, Dan. Thank you.
Take us through when the first time you worked out Kobe, what that process was like.
Well, at that point in time, one of the things that most teams do is, they try to talk to agents and get their clients to come in and work out for you. A lot of times, it's good because, you can see their skill level. You don't know what's inside of them, really, to be honest with you. And in watching him, his agent, Arn Tellem, at that time, was a great friend of mine. He wanted me to watch him work out, and we'd watch some film on him in high school. And, in high school, he just completely dominated people that he played against. He was far advanced physically, far advanced skill-wise than any high school kid you'd ever see. And so, he came in, and we didn't get very excited about it because we didn't have a pick that we thought would be in the range to draft him. At that time, it wasn't really in vogue to draft young kids. Most people were going to school longer, and you get a player that had you could look at his body of work over a period of time. And we brought Kobe in, worked him out, and first thing I said, oh my gosh, I know he's good. I didn't know he was this skilled. And the joy that he had when he was playing was enormous. I mean, he was having fun at it, but he was having fun competing. And if he was trying to impress us, he didn't have to do very much to impress us the way he approached the game, the workout, and everything. And then he had a great personality. He was a lot different then. He wasn't he wasn't at the person that I think he at times in his career. I think he wanted people to dislike him. That seemed to be able to fuel his desire a lot more. But and then we worked him out the second time. Michael Cooper, who just retired a year before, we brought Michael to come in and play against him, and it was like I said, "Oh my God!" I said, he's just Michael couldn't, and Michael was a great defensive player during his prime. He couldn't do anything with him, and I said, after about 30 minutes, I said, I've seen enough. We don't need to do this anymore. And the late Jerry Buss, who was the owner then, I said, he and I were very close at that point in time, and I went to see him, and we had tried like crazy, and we're trying like crazy to make a pitch to Shaquille O'Neal, who was a free agent. And so Jerry was, constantly pushing the envelope to try to have players that not only would help him win, but play the game the way he wanted to see it played. He thought it was more of a lot of it was entertainment, and you can entertain and still win. And I said to him, I just saw a player that was unbelievable. And I said, a young high school kid, and I said, not many people had heard of him, except in the Philadelphia area. And then, he had made some reputation, of course, with the NBA scouts. And I said, boy, if we could get some way trade Vlade Divac and get the rights to him, I said, we would have really done well and obviously put us closer to the dollar amounts we needed to shine Shaquille. And in the process of this that whole summer, we were able to kill two birds with one stone. We got Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
And when we drafted Kobe, I told Jerry, again, I said, we got the best player in the draft. I said, this kid is going to be great. I said, it's going to take him time. He's going to have to learn how to play the game with other people out there instead of by himself. And kind of the rest is kind of history. He just bloomed after his second year. He really started to take off, and it allowed us to trade Eddie Jones, an all-star player, because we had that much confidence that he was going to be great. He was just an enormous talent, and he proved it throughout his career.
How relieved are you that this is his last year?
Well, I'm very conflicted, Dan. I don't like to watch him play this way. I really don't. I want him to be remembered for what he is. He was an absolute, incredibly great player. He wasn't great. He was incredibly great. And to watch him now, it's hard for me to imagine, knowing him, and I've had very little contact with him in the last 8 years, very little. But watching him right now, as much as he likes to win and playing with a team that, frankly, is not capable of winning at a high level, I'm conflicted about that. I don't know how he goes to bed at night knowing how much he loves to win. And, as I say, I want to remember him for his greatness and for how much winning meant to him. And, as I say, he's got a completely different mentality than almost any player I've ever seen in my life. And I wonder how he really feels about it. And I'm sure he knows that he doesn't have to do this anymore after the end of the year. But I just wonder when they're losing like this, how does he come to grips with it when that has meant everything to him in his life?
You were able to supplement that competitive desire, drive that you had by being a GM with the Lakers. And as I said, you and Red Auerbach, probably the two greatest GMs of all time. But could you see Kobe channeling that competitiveness into that kind of role?
It's hard to tell. He has a lot of different interests, and of course he's made an enormous amount of money both on and off the court. And I think sometimes he's very, very smart, very smart. And he also is intuitive. And I think that some way, somehow, it would be great if he could get involved at a higher level in basketball. I think he would. It's still something competitive. You can't go out and play anymore, but it's still something competitive, and it allows you to allow someone like him who has thought about this game completely differently than most players. I mean, my admiration for him, Dan, is enormous. Okay, is enormous. And I guess because the competitive part of it, how he would play where other players would not play, kind of a throwback to some of the older players who used to walk around out there with needles stuck in them every night before they went out and played. And he was one of those kind of players. He would just play. And that competitive part of it, I don't know how he's ever going to lose that edge, okay? I don't. I think it would be great if he would get in a position to be able to contribute in other ways with his mind, with his ability to see things on the court that most people could never see. I think it would be something that he would enjoy. It's hard work. There's a lot of pressure on you to do it. Does he want to face that pressure? I think only he can answer that question.
Put on your GM hat, and if you were going to start your team with any of these Laker players of all time that have come through, as a GM with today's rules, who would be your first player that you would take?
That's really difficult because there's been so many great players that we've had here in Los Angeles. Everyone forgets Abdul-Jabbar. Obviously, Magic Johnson, because of his enormous enthusiasm, the way he played the game. Abdul-Jabbar was as efficient, as great as any player that's ever played this game.
He was my choice. That's who I would start my team with, Abdul-Jabbar.
Well, Dan, these centers today could not. He would just kill these centers in this league today. Oh my gosh! we have a dearth of centers in this league today, and simply because the game has changed. Okay, but there would be three of them that I would say all of them would be number ones for me. It would be he, Irvin Johnson, Abdul-Jabbar, Irvin Johnson, and Kobe Bryant. All three of those players. So I'm going to be selfish and say I'll take those three against any three that ever played for other teams.
Well, I guess I told these guys that I work with, I said, you just don't realize how great Kareem was, and he was great before the explosion of the NBA. Had you had that explosion, we would look at Kareem differently. So that's why I said it's amazing that I think he's one of the more underrated players who's ever played the game, Jerry.
Well, he is, Dan, and a lot of it's how he played the game. He was so efficient. He didn't even look like he was working hard. He made it look that easy. You could see Magic Johnson screaming, hollering, jumping all over the place. This guy was like a fine wine, okay? Abdul-Jabbar was like a fine wine. He got greater as he went along in his career. Obviously, he had players that complimented him better and took some of the load off of him. But some of the things he did late in his career were unbelievable. The finals in the NBA championship series at age 38, 39, I watch these players who played a long time today, and is it because they've worked out so much in the off seasons? There's a bunch of them that are playing today that don't have much left in the tank, and he still had plenty left in the tank. He was that great.
Before I let you go, I got 30 seconds left. Is trying for 73 wins with your Golden State Warriors a bad thing?
Dan, I don't even want to talk about, to be honest with you. These guys, it's a unique group of kids, and they just like each other. They care for each other. They're the best people I've ever been around in my life. Nothing would surprise me, but I don't think that should be the ultimate goal at all. I think the ultimate goal is to be ready to go and play in the playoffs. We're probably going to get beat on this road trip. We've got 2 or 3 tough tests, a couple back-to-back games, and we have Harrison Barnes out. But this is a very good team. Don't kid yourself. This team is capable of doing a lot of things, but I would rather them to be prepared in the playoff than try to set records during the regular season. But nothing would surprise me.
It's great to talk to you as always, Jerry. Thank you.
My best, Dan. Take care.
That's
Bye-bye.
Jerry West, Laker Hall of Famer.